In today's news, a year later and the temporary termination extension ends, expired on February 28, 2020. Ministry sources say it will not be extended. Will employers cut employees or return them as full-time employees? Government officials remain tight-lipped. COVID and catching a ride in the BVI. Is this a thing of the past? ATMs a total inconvenience of no help, says BVI Residents. Royal Virgin Islands Police Force record another spike in theft of tools. Football fiesta hailed a success. Girls and women come together to celebrate International Women's Day and the sport of football. And Dr. Robert Wright joins us live to share his amazing photography essays. You're going to want to see this. All this and more when 284 News returns. Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. I'm Ron Grant and you're watching 284 News out of Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. Thanks for joining us. A terrific Tuesday to one and all. Now beginning on a local story, a very important one that really encompasses the struggles of the past year. A year later and the temporary termination extension has finally ended. Sources within the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor have confirmed that the territory's temporary termination date, which expired on February 28, 2021, will not be extended, forcing employers to make hard decisions. On May 29, 2020, the minister responsible for Immigration and Labor, the Honorable Vincent Wheatley, announced plans to amend the Labor Code Amendment Act 2020 to make provisions for an extension to October 31st, and this was approved by the Cabinet of the Virgin Islands. Once the October 31st deadline approached, the minister further stated that the October 31st temporary termination deadline will be extended to November 15, 2020, in an attempt to benefit employers and employees. However, the November 15th tentative date was rejected by some residents who said they have persons to work and further requested the date to be extended to December 15th or 31st. Now, in response to community appeals from both employers and employees, Minister Wheatley said he was trying to find a middle ground by seeking a balance for both parties, stating, and I quote, "The current pandemic in mind and the harsh realities being faced by both employers and employees inspired Cabinet's decision to extend to 2021. Now, while this worked to the benefit of business owners, many were also concerned about the employees who have been displaced since March of 2020 without jobs, as the tourism industry remains closed and the reopening of the seaports has again been deferred to April 2021. Based on the Labor Code of the Virgin Islands, the temporary termination period is done on a 3-month period and is usually used in instances where an employer is experiencing hardships, for example, the hurricanes of 2017. Now, this period is used to allow employers to get back on their feet. After the 3 months, the Labor Code speaks to if an employer does not rehire an employee, their employment would have to be severed, making way for the employer to pay the employee severance pay based on the years worked with the company, as well as any benefits they may have accumulated, such as vacation days, among others, benefited really agreed upon in the employment contract, which may vary for different persons. Now, in the era of COVID-19, most employers that knew of this clause would have reverted to it when the lockdowns began. The first 3 months period would have begun in March, when the first lockdown was sanctioned. Now, the government of the Virgin Islands would have then extended for another 3 months as they realized lockdowns could become continuous based on the pandemic, and the economy of the Virgin Islands was essentially shut down and still is. Now, some believe that this was the government's way of assisting employers so they would not have to be liable or have any liabilities, as at the end of the 3-month period, employers would have then been forced to sever their employees, and that in of itself is a liability many could not afford. Now, from an employer's perspective, the temporary termination is a perfect situation as it extends the liability. Employers did not have to pay out severance one time, as severance could be very costly and ranged to thousands of dollars. From an employee's perspective, it is not the ideal situation, as employees are not being paid. During the extension period, employees are essentially just holding on and waiting, hoping that one day their employee would say, "Come back to work," with no absolute surety as to when exactly this would be. Every time there was an extension, the government of the Virgin Islands would state specifically when and how long the extension would last for. No official announcement has been forthcoming from officials informing that they have formally ended the further extensions of the deadline. However, officials did state upon the last extension that it would not be extended again. Now, this now means that employers are forced to make a decision. Will they sever their employees or return them as full-time employees? Now, the Labor Code does not specifically, when doing our research, it does not specify the number of terminations an employer can issue during a period of time. An employer can issue during any period of time. So employees are not desirous of having to pay. That's employers who are not desirous of having to pay severance could very well bring an employee on for one day, then restart the 3-month period. When that 3 months has ended, return the employee for one day, then restart them again. Now, this will only frustrate employees, and if an employee decides to quit employment, then they walk away from any severance they would have been able or eligible to receive, which then removes the employer from any liabilities. Now, employees who have employees with work permits should have expired by this time. With the extension, the government of the Virgin Islands also extended the immigration status, despite some persons not having a permit. Now, that option has also expired in February of 2021. Work permit holders now have to regularize their status by renewing their work permits while being temporarily terminated, which has ended, meaning that they have to now renew their work permits. In many cases, employees are responsible for their work permit fees, and that can range from $1,000 and onward. Why then would an employee willingly want their work permit renewed, knowing that an employer could sever them the next day and when the work permit is received? With the seaports still closed, this heavily affects persons working in the tourism industries. While employers may not deliberately do this, it is a strategic business move which some may choose. How does an employer pay employees when they don't have revenue coming in, and in many cases don't have revenue to sever these very said employees? Severance equals a lump sum, viewers, with a deadline by which it is to be paid. There is a very short grace period provided, and the payment plan for severance is only possible once agreed upon by the employer. For employers with expat employees, they have signed an immigration bond which holds them liable to pay repatriation fees, including airfare and hotel accommodations for repatriation of the said employees. When considering the large hotels and organizations who have a number of expat workers, this is a significant cost to employers in addition to their severance pay. When considering both sides, some would side with the government of the Virgin Islands in ending the temporary termination deadline instead of having persons wait in vain, not knowing their employment fate. Both employers and employees have experienced significant losses as a result of this situation. And viewers, we will continue to keep you posted on this very important story as business owners, employers, and employees continue to navigate through these very difficult times. Now, still ahead, COVID and catching a ride in the BVI. Is this a thing of the past? And viewers say ATMs a total inconvenience of no help. Says residents. Of course, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force have recorded another spike, unfortunately, in the theft of tools. We have all the details and more after word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News. Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works. Gentlemen, aspiring gentlemen, and our partners that hold us down. It's season 2 of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, taking you on the most inspiring journey with the best and brightest distinguished gentlemen of the BVI. Raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men like you've never seen them before. Governor Augustus J.U. Jasper, Jovan Klein, Neil Klein, and so much more. Turning modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen with yours truly, Ron Grant, a 284 Media production. Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News out of Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. Continuing on local news, since the onset of COVID-19, many residents have admitted that they no longer give rides to pedestrians. Even with COVID-19 cases being as low as they are in the British Virgin Islands, the culture of stopping for bystanders is slowly becoming increasingly a thing of the past, and drivers have become increasingly reluctant at giving pedestrians what we call a lift or a ride. Culturally, the Virgin Islands has been known to be very compassionate in this regard. However, in recent months, ride catchers can be seen standing for lengthy times trying to get a lift, many ending up using a paid taxi service or carpooling when possible with family and friends. Now, despite COVID being a major deterrent to persons being given a lift, one female resident from Foy Hill, Tortola said, "It's not just COVID." She said, and I quote when interviewed by our team, not just because of COVID. With all these shootings and robberies and what's not, you really don't know who is who. And they are wearing masks, so I can't see their faces. So I just stopped giving rides to people. A male resident of Carrot Bay had a different sentiment, saying, and I quote, "If they have on a mask, I still stop and give people a ride. I don't see the big deal." A male pedestrian said, and I quote, "I just try to organize a ride with my neighbor or friend when leaving work with a coworker because it's really hard catching a ride these days." Now, during the spike of COVID-19 cases in the BVI, one female resident took to the BVI Community Board sharing that she thought it was insensitive and cruel that people no longer stopped for you anymore, saying, and I quote, "I am hurt that we have reached this point. It's so insensitive and cruel. People don't stop for people anymore. You standing up for hours and nobody is stopping." Now, while many agreed with the seemingly disgruntled residents, others noted that due to these circumstances, it is inevitable, and they understood why persons would not want to give rides in these times of uncertainty and, of course, a pandemic. Now, the Ministry of Transportation recently ended the city taxi services, which provided low-cost shuttle services to persons in the capital of Road Town. Despite those efforts, residents still struggle and continue to struggle to get to and from East End, West End, or out of the countryside. If you're a client of any of the banks in the territory of the Virgin Islands, you are guaranteed, viewers, to meet a malfunction automated teller machine, also known as ATM. At any given time, BVI residents desirous of conducting transactions at any of the main ATMs are consistently met with machines that are down, no matter the time of day. The ATMs, which should serve as a convenience, have now become the ultimate inconvenience for conducting banking business due to poorly maintained machines, both on Tortola and Virgin Gorda. Joss Van Dyke and Anegada residents do not have access to ATMs. Now, the general consensus among residents is that this is experienced on a daily basis at all of the territory's 4 major banks which utilize the ATM service or feature: Banco Popular, First Bank, CIBC First Caribbean, and Republic Bank. In speaking to high-ranking bank officials at all 4 banks, the common reason being presented for the ATM's consistent malfunction is a lack of maintenance, as technicians are sourced overseas, as close as Puerto Rico in some cases. A similar situation is experienced by local businesses that use elevators when they malfunction. Business persons have a sincerely difficult time locating technicians suitable to issue repairs. Now, the situation is said to have worsened as a result of COVID-19 and the inability for technicians to travel to service ATMs, which are not owned by local banks but leased from international companies. Other reasons provided were faulty dispensers, worn-out card readers, broken keypads or buttons, receipt malfunctions, software glitches, and the immensely high level of usage at ATMs, particularly Banco Popular, which officials say causes consistent breakdowns. One resident said, and I quote, "It's a total inconvenience, a waste of time. Thank God ATH Mobile came on stream, or else we would be in trouble. But sometimes you just need cash, and they are always down." Another said, and I quote, "Honestly, it's just frustrating going from ATM machine to ATM machine, and none of them are working. I don't know how they expect people to handle their business." Now, the present situation seemingly has no unfortunate immediate remedy, that is, or time frame by which it will be rectified. Meanwhile, residents continue to be inconvenienced. At some points, there is no cash. Other times, clients are able to make withdrawals but not deposits, or vice versa. And oftentimes, no feature, unfortunately, works at all. Viewers will keep you posted on that story. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is again reporting a spike in theft of tools for a second week in a row, and is urging the public to place added security around these items. They're being categorized by officials as opportunist thefts, and the BVI Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is urging the public to be aware of the high risk of not securing their property, that is, effectively. Tools in unfinished homes, buildings, under repair, storage units, and toolbox in the back of trucks are the main targets for thieves who make off with expensive electrical items such as jackhammers, drills, saws, and sanders. Police are urging contractors, foremen, and other residents to ensure that all tools are marked by the engraver or specialized security markers so it is found. The items can be identified. Owners of properties are also asked to ensure that these items and tools are stored in enclosed areas and locked, and there is enough lighting around containment units to discourage thieves from entering at nights. Security cameras can also be very useful in monitoring and recording activities while no one is on the premises. The police are also following several leads into the incidents, but are appealing to anyone with information in these incidents to contact them at their intelligence unit at 368-9339. Now, still ahead, Dr. Robert Wright joins us live to discuss his photography book, their photo essays, as he calls them, two magnificent pieces of work that you don't want to miss out on. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Father Jesus, that line you long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, son.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut front of people.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man, forget you.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. You're watching 284 News out of Tortola in the BVI. Viewers, I am so honored to have with us Dr. Robert Storm Wright, who has recently released two amazing photography pieces of work, and we have them right here. Dr. Wright, thank you so much for your time and welcome to 284 News.
It's a pleasure and a blessing for me to be here with you. I admire what you and your staff do.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, before we get into the book, I want you to tell us a little bit about why. Why did you see it fit to really be so vulnerable? And when I say that, I mean for artists, creatives all around the world, this is a very vulnerable thing to do, sharing your work with the world. Why did you see it fit to do this?
I had this in me for a lot of years, and I stopped because I felt that I was too old and people aren't interested and nobody likes black and white photography anymore. But my wife stayed on me. She bugged me. She was on me year after year after year. And I kept making excuses as to why I wouldn't and couldn't get this done. Then came Irma and Maria. And like a lot of people, I lost a lot, but I almost lost everything. God's been good to me. But she came to me and she just simply said, well, I guess now you're going to die with this thing within you, huh? You almost lost everything.
Wow.
Think about that. And I say, you know something, maybe you got a point. So I began to go through the archives and what was left, because a lot of this was done in the time before digital, and you used to use film back in the day. So I scanned a lot, did a lot, and I put it together, and hopefully people will be blessed by it.
Amazing. Now, you love photography. You've been doing it for a number of years, but you really have a liking to black and white photos. Tell me about that. Why is that?
I've been doing photography longer than I care to tell you because I'd be showing my age. But let's just say I came to the British Virgin Islands, and I was old when I got here. I came to the British Virgin Islands in 1995. Photography has been a lifelong love for me. It's been the only thing in my life that has never let me down. And I can always pick up the camera and go walking and find my peace. The reason I like black and white photography, and some people don't, and that's objective. You have the right to like what you like or don't like. I like black and white photography because black and white photography to me makes you see truth. If I show you a picture, I said this before in another interview, if I show you a picture of a sunset and the sky is green and the ocean is purple, your body rejects it because you know automatically that that's wrong. But black and white, the shades of gray, to me, black and white makes you see truth.
Well said. Now, there are two pieces of book, viewers. I have them right here with me, which are remarkable pieces. Here you go, and here you go. And I am so proud to be able to really be sharing in this experience of the talent and work. Dr. Wright, I want you to speak to the younger generation of our society. You mentioned, as it pertains to photography, having the film, and now we've moved swiftly into the digital world. But however, speak to the young artists who have the use of technology at their fingertips.
I tell you, brother, I'm not one of these old men who, who stands around screaming, hey, you kids, get off my lawn. I love technology. I embrace technology. I wish I was so blessed when I was younger to have what we have now. I just have a little carry-around camera, the baby camera that you saw me come in here with.
Yes.
I have more and more expensive one, but that baby camera right now is mirrorless. The size it is, it's light, and I could put a card in there and catch 2 cards in there and catch 2 different formats of pictures. I can do up to almost 5,000. Back in the day, you had to do film. You had 12, 24, 36, and you had to pay for every exposure. So in one way, it was better because we come from a generation of craftsmen. You had to pay for your mistakes. If I was working for GIS and I was blessed to be the government photographer for 6 years here, I was blessed to be Umi's photographer. When they first opened up, I was with Debbie, and we used to do what they're doing now on digital. We did it with film back in the day. And I'm saying that to say that the new technology is a blessing because it allows people to take things comfortably and at a great price. But I encourage today's young person, if the book can do anything, to continue doing what you're doing with your cameras and your iPhones and your Samsungs. Continue doing whatever you're doing. I'm not against that. But also take some time to turn around sometimes and see what your grandmother is doing. If you don't document your history, somebody else will document it for you, tell you what it is, and sell it back to you. Be your own storyteller.
Well said. Now, speaking of documenting history and heritage, you have a very beautiful portrait that you photographed, and I want you to show it to the audience because for me it signifies a true piece of Virgin Islands history and heritage and culture. Viewers, that photo that you're looking at, am I correct that it's been taken in the Virgin Islands, right?
Yes, it was taken here in the British Virgin Islands.
I remember it very well. Tell us about it.
Festival. I have actually 3 of this same lady in the book, taken over a 7-year period. But this is the last one I took of her, and you could see that she was losing weight, and she was looking up at the sky like she was reflecting and had a lot on her mind. And the next year when I went back to the agriculture fair, which was one of the last ones held here, she was no more when I asked about her. This is the kind of thing that I feel should never be forgotten, this moment in time. When you look on this, you can see so much there between the old-fashioned way of cooking, and she looks like, you can read into it if you want, whatever you want. It looks like she has a lot on her mind, reflecting on the past and reflecting on her future. This picture could never be duplicated because the young lady who's in it is no longer with us physically, but this moment in time can be with us forever.
Absolutely amazing. These are some of the memories, viewers, that can be captured in both of Dr. Wright's books. Dr. Wright, before you go, I want you to speak to our young generation and the creatives that are out there. A lot of us could be very apprehensive or shy when it comes to presenting our work to the world. What encouragement would you give to young artists about this?
Don't give up, don't give out, don't give in. Create your own narrative. Learn from constructive criticism. Hear everything, but don't receive everything. Not everything is for you. Make your own way. There will always be doubters. There will always be people who say you can't. But there are probably people who have not. Make your own narrative. Become the message that you want to send. Don't give up. Don't give out. Don't give in.
Dr. Wright, very well said, and we thank you so much. Viewers, the recently launched books and the launch, which took place at the Tortola Pear Park, was, of course, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Youth Affairs. Dr. Wright, how can persons who want to grab a copy of these amazing photo essays, how can they get in contact with you, and how can they get their personalized copy, and what is the cost of each of these books?
The paperback one, Familiar Touch, The Journey, is only $20. It has 38 pictures. The hardcover one, Sometimes the Silence Screams, the Legacy Edition, has 103 pictures.
Okay.
The first 38 pictures in both books are the same. So you don't have to buy both. But I didn't want anybody to say, you know, with the economic reality being what it is, I didn't want anybody to say, boy, I want that, but I can't afford it. So right now, the paperback is $20, the hardcover is $50. I didn't do this for the money, but everything being raised will go into our prison ministry and work with inmates and inmates' children. So when you buy a book, you're not only getting the culture, but you're supporting a good cause and helping people who are struggling.
Thank you so much again, sir, and we wish you continued success in all your endeavors.
Thank you, brother, and I wish the same to you and your staff.
Thank you, viewers. That is all the time we have. Be sure to visit our website and Facebook page, 284media.com, and 284media on Facebook, as well as 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. It is always a pleasure bringing you the daily happenings, both locally, regionally, and internationally. We wish you a happy Tuesday. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.